Hi guys, it's Max Wright here, and I found myself doing something interesting. I've just found myself defending Bernie Sanders on a YouTube comment, and as a libertarian, obviously it doesn't really go down that well. In fact, on a lot of Bernie Sanders forums and stuff, I get called, what was it, a sovereign citizen crank or something. But anyway, so I'm not in very good favor with Bernie Sanders fans, let's say. But I found myself defending him, and I thought I'd make this video because I think it's really important. We do a disservice when we dismiss everything. Because I think Bernie Sanders is very, very good at articulating some very real problems in society. And so even though I disagree with his solutions, I think when we just dismiss everything he says, we do ourselves a disservice and we create this huge division. So this is my attempt at an olive branch to Bernie Sanders communities. I'm not going to agree with some of your conclusions and things you guys advocate, but there is actually a lot of things that I do agree with you guys on. And so I wanted to make this video as we'll see how it goes as an olive branch. So my model of the world, I think, is actually very, very similar to Bernie's. I completely agree that there is this very, very ridiculously wealthy group of individuals who exert incredible amounts of power over the world, from politics to media and industry and everything else. I'll further agree that they are accumulating incredible amounts of wealth. I would go so far as to say unnatural amounts of wealth, certainly unearned wealth. And the consequence of that is very, very destructive to society. I think a lot of people suffer, the vast majority of people suffer as a result of what's going on. And I absolutely believe there has been for decades both an immoral and an unjust transfer of wealth from the middle class to this cabal, these mega wealthy sociopaths who basically run the world. So E2S guy said, Bernie comes from the vantage point that successful people in this country somehow unfairly stole the wealth from middle income, when the reality is successful business owners who are upper tier in wealth help the middle class and not steal from them. So E2S guy, I definitely agree with parts of what you said, but in the way you're saying it is you're totally dismissing some very, very valid concerns of Bernie's. And here's where Bernie and I kind of split, right? I think our model of the world is very, very similar, but Bernie makes no distinction between earned wealth and stolen wealth. So I agree with him that there is a, let's call them the 1% further. It's actually 0.001%. It's a slither of that. But there is definitely the 1% who have accumulated incredible amounts of wealth, and they have not done it by earning it, they have done it by stealing it from the middle class. But like E2S guy says, there is also a class of people who have become very, very wealthy by contributing massive amounts of value to society. So much value they've contributed that people voluntarily give them money. And these people are to be heralded as champions. What they've done to the world is phenomenal. But Bernie makes no distinction between those two. All wealth accumulation is evil in Bernie's mind, and that's not my model at all. There's definitely a distinction. And the reason I have this YouTube video is to fight the people who accumulate wealth in an evil way and do it immorally. So let me just talk about some of the evil and corrupt ways that the bad rich create their wealth at the expense of the middle class. One of the primary ways they do it is that they use government regulation to eliminate competition so that they can charge monopolistic prices. Some examples of this are the pharmaceutical industry, where the CEOs of the pharmaceutical companies are the head of the FDA the next week and back and forth, and they grant special privileges. Only you can sell this drug, and they can jack up the prices to just ridiculous measures. Charge $1,000 a pill, and it costs them like $2 to produce. Now there's R&D costs, of course, but no one can afford these $1,000 pills. It's insane to charge that. And ironically, that very same pill, you know it's a farce. That very same pill, you can get it in Mexico for half the price. Another industry is banking regulation. One of the biggest myths about the 2008 financial crisis is that it was because of deregulation. My God, nothing could be further from the truth. There was more regulation than ever before. There was massive amounts of regulation. There was more regulation than ever. There were more regulators than there were bankers in American society. That's how heavily regulated the banking industry. But if you think the regulators are there to help you and protect you, you're snoozing. You're not paying attention. The regulators are there to destroy any competition to the big major banks. It's to eliminate any competition so that the banks can get away with murder.
There's a big fight going on in Washington about the Dodd-Frank bill and the rules that it placed on the banking community, primarily aimed at the biggest banks that were contributors to some of the problems that we had, like the mortgage and other problems that we were talking about earlier. a lot of community banks say, hey, those rules fell on us too. We're just a small community bank or a small regional bank.
The only fight going on in Congress about that issue is to decide how much the politicians are demanding the banks pay them as bribery to get them to pass these ridiculous laws. In a free market scenario, if a bank is putting your money in a very risky situation and the government wasn't guaranteeing your money in those institutions, then competitive banks would say, hey guys, your money's not safe over there. Come and put it in our bank. We're not making those risky bets. But none of those things happen. As a consumer, you didn't care because the government was guaranteeing your deposits. And there was no competition was allowed to make that case because they couldn't possibly get through all the red tape and all of the licensing requirements for banks. If you're not part of the boys club, you cannot be a bank. Other ways evil people get rich is through incredible government contracts. You're going to laugh, but really, $500 million for the Obamacare website that doesn't work. And that guy just happened to be a big campaign donor to Obama. And it's not just a Democrat thing. The Republicans are just as disgusting. Usually they do it with the military-industrial complex. So, here, have $1 trillion and so I can go and drop bombs on innocent brown people. That's going to stir up so much trouble. Then I'm going to invite these terrorists into our country as refugees so we can have more terrorist attacks and you'll be more scared and I've got to buy more bombs and I can siphon off more money from the middle class and give it to the big industrialists who create bombs and things for the war machine. A third way that this evil cabal steals money from the middle class is through inflation. Now, this is a huge concept, but basically, if you're a bank, you get special privileges like being able to just print money that you don't have, lending it to people at interest, and making profits. It's completely immoral. It's a really big topic to understand, and in fact, I'm going to release a video in the next week or so. So it'll blow your mind if you don't know how money is created in society and just how the wealthy steal money from the middle class through inflation. You're going to love this video, so go ahead and subscribe. So you might hear all these things and Bernie Sanders might say, yes, Bernie's been saying this for years. I completely agree with all that. And what he's promising to do is to get the money out of politics. He's going to talk about how he's been fighting Citizens United for a long time. Quick catch up for people. Citizens United was a Supreme Court decision, which the result is basically you can provide unlimited amounts of donation to political campaigns anonymously. There's a few steps in that. That's not what the actual decision was, but it basically led to that. So Bernie is campaigning, I'm going to get the money out of politics. And it sounds very, very good. And I agree with him that it's a worthy goal. But I think he's grossly missing a point here. The money was always in politics. You just couldn't see it because it was illegal. But you can't have trillions upon trillions of dollars flowing through the hands of these grubby little politicians and not think the mega wealthy people are going to come and bribe them for their share. It always happened in every economy, in every country. There's always horrific amounts of corruption. And the corruption is directly proportional to the amount of money flowing through the politicians' hands. It's not proportional to the amount of legislation that allows it, that makes it legal. All that does is let us know how much of it is above ground, how much of it is below ground. It reminds me of, and I've used this example in another video, when the internet came out, all of a sudden, people were exposed to things like child pornography, and you see one disgusting video like that, and it's like, oh my God, we've got a problem. It's like, did you think pedophilia was not happening before? Obviously it was. It's not like people became deranged because the internet came out. All that happened was it was now visible for everyone to see. And the world knows there's a huge problem about it now, and things can start to change to actually take effect. It's the same thing. Citizens United just brought all this evil, this corruption, this blatant bribing of politicians, otherwise known as lobbying, out in the front for everybody to see. And now it's like, oh, we've got a problem. Let's quickly sweep it back under the carpet so I can't see it again, and I'll believe that we don't have a problem anymore. So this is where Bernie Sanders fans and libertarians will disagree, even though we identify the problem exactly the same. There is too much money in politics. A libertarian will argue there is one way and one way only to eliminate that, and that is to reduce the amount of money flowing through politicians' hands. And socialists will argue, no, the problem is we just need to elect good men to do it wisely. And I'm suggesting that that's a fool's errand. And so this comes back to a really central point, which is if you look at the 1%, those sociopaths who run the world and extract money from the middle class and hoard it, those guys, they treat us like farm animals for all intents and purposes. They're the farmers and we're the livestock. If you look at how they're accruing that wealth, They're doing it with government's help. They're doing it by rent seeking, which is using government to eliminate competition so you can charge monopolistic prices. They're doing it through special privileges like inflation, being able to. They're doing it through special privileges and licenses, like getting a banking license or a pharmaceutical license, or the privilege to sell this drug with no competition in this particular geographic area. Just government contracts. They hate these mega wealthy people hate dealing in the free market. They can't get rich in the free market because they don't add value to anybody anywhere. The only way they can get rich is to steal it. And in order to steal it legally and be able to keep it, they must have a big and powerful government with lots of money flowing through it so that they can bribe whoever they need to bribe and get it back into their hands. Now, I know the Bernie fans will say, but if we just get the right guy, if we just get an honest guy who's pure of heart, then we can undo this whole thing. I'm telling you, it will never, ever, ever happen. The amount of money these sociopaths have to bribe you, they control CIA and everything else. They eavesdrop on everything. If Bernie's got one email, picture on his computer, it's something that he needs to keep secret, he's done. He's over. And if all else fails, they'll assassinate him. They will. Like, it is just a complete waste of time to try and eliminate these powers of corruption, because these sociopaths have so many pressure points on people who are in power that they either get in line, here, have lots of money, do what we say, you'll have a good life, you'll have prestige, you'll have whatever it is that you want, or you can go against us and we'll assassinate you, or we'll humiliate you publicly by exposing this in your email or this in your inbox or whatever, right? You forget about it. It's never going to happen. The only way you can achieve this is to eliminate the amount of money flowing through government. And this is the exact opposite of everything that a socialist thinks is fair and just. If fair and just, because the socialist wants to take from the rich and give to the poor to undo those injustices, which I agree happened. I'm telling you, it's a fool's errand. You actually have been tricked into doing the exact thing that the sociopath 1% wants you to do. They want you to demand a bigger government, demand higher taxes, demand the expansion of government, because they know they can control it. They know they'll get it back. What they know is that they'll never get their hands on that money if they have to provide value to the world. And that kind of brings it full circle back to this part. Bernie comes from the vantage point that successful people in this country somehow unfairly stole wealth from the middle income people, when in reality it was successful business owners in the upper tier of wealth who helped the middle class and not hurt them. Like I said to E2S, you've missed a whole bunch of injustices that the Bernie fans are absolutely right in complaining about. But Bernie fans, you've missed the point that E2S guy has said, in that not these sociopaths who use government to extract money from the middle class, but just business people who just operate in the free market. They work their ass off to create products and services better and cheaper than you could get anywhere else. You see, in the free market, there is only a couple of ways to make money. One is to solve someone's problem, or to solve more problems for that person. And the other way is to solve that problem for more people. Now, both of those solutions are purely voluntary. There is no government coercion involved. Let me give you an example. So if I can create a product or a service, and let's just say it's a haircut. If I start a hairdressing chain and I deliver fantastic haircuts to people at a great price, and people are just flocking to my store, and I open 2 chains and 3 chains, and now because I give the best haircuts at the best price, and I'm just stealing customers from all of the other hairdressers, they're going out of business and I'm just stealing all their customers. My business is exploding. No one can touch me on how good a chain I've created, because all the best hairdressers come and work for me. What I've done is produced so much value. I've delivered great value to many, many people. And many, many people have all voluntarily given me money, and I've delivered great value and service for that. No matter how wealthy I get, I don't care if it's in the trillions, that is earning money in a moral way, because I am helping people. The way that I know I'm helping people is because they are volunteering their money to me. There's no force, there's no coercion, there's no government prohibiting other hairdressers from opening. People are voluntarily giving me money because I can perform a service better and more efficient for them, which means their life is better. They're either enjoying their haircuts more than they were enjoying previous haircuts, or they're saving money and their quality of life just went up because they don't have to spend as much money on haircuts, or both. And that's true of every product in the free market. The only way to get wealthy in the free market is to solve someone's problems or to solve more people's problems. That's it. And if you do that and you do it well, you deserve all the money people will voluntarily give to you. You absolutely deserve it. So please don't hate wealth for wealth's sake. Yes, it is true. There is 100% a sociopathic slither of 1% at the top who acquire vast sums of wealth without providing any value and actually stealing it from the middle class. There is those people, but wealth in and of itself is not evil. Wealth is the mechanism, is the reward to make this person go through the incredible challenges of making a hairdressing chain, which is really, really hard to do. You have to leave that incentive there, or else he won't do it. And all those people who are benefiting from his product, now they're stuck in the past and they don't have the new cool haircut that they're enjoying, and they're not saving money on their haircuts anymore. And you've just hurt all of the poor people that you claimed you wanted to help. So please don't hate on wealth. Please don't tax people out the wazoo, stealing wealth of them. Those people deserve it. That incentive needs to be there, or else they won't contribute the value to society at all. You have to leave that there. But let's go after these fucking sociopaths at the top. Let's cut them off at the legs. And believe me, all of their power comes from government control. To the degree they can trick you into demanding that the government gets bigger and more powerful and has a greater range of powers and can take more money from more people and redistribute it more fairly to poor people, the more they can convince you to demand that, the more they win. And by the way, if you have any doubt about this whatsoever, there are some really good videos on YouTube. I can even name these people. Go and do your research about things like the Carnegie Endowment for Education. I think there's a Rockefeller Tax Exempt Foundation, and these mega wealthy people, they have dedicated extraordinary sums of money to advancing the cause of socialism in schools and education. It is they that demand there should be free education for everybody, K through 12. Because they want to control it, and they want to control what you think. So I hope you enjoyed this video, socialists. I hope you see that actually with libertarians, we actually have a lot in common in our identification of the problems. We just have like polar opposite views about the best way to actually solve the problem. So please go ahead, like this video, dislike this video. I'm sure there'll be lots of comments from both sides below this video, so join in the conversation, and please subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you soon.